Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Ash David.
I am Retcon.
We are doing gaming news. Today is February 10th of 2019.
Excited.
With the source code doc. So we've got a couple articles to talk about, and at the top of the news is the developer Respawn confirming that there will be no Titanfall 3.
No, I mean, I never played any of them, but I'm sure Titanfall fans are unhappy about this.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know there was a Titanfall 2.
Oh, okay.
I was aware of Titanfall 1. Titanfall 1, of course, had a huge amount of money put behind. I want to say it was by Microsoft, and perhaps but lots of tournaments and stuff like that were going around, and they really put up a hype behind it. There was all kinds of interesting crawling around on the walls and parkouring, basically, that was in that game. In between, you would run with a mech suit, and when you got out, you're basically parkouring all over the place, trying to kill enemy soldiers in order to get enough points to call down another mech. Not a bad first game. It definitely didn't last long, though. It just, burst into light, then dwindled just as quickly. Apparently, number 2 just flew by everyone just as well. In other words, they would be making a number 3, but the article confirms there is no number 3. Instead, Respawn has been working on a completely different game called Apex Legends,
which I've seen all over Reddit this weekend. So I guess it's actually working out better for them.
Yeah, either that or they are doing some wonderful work in their PR training for it.
Yeah, I mean, they could be doing some astroturf.
Either way, Apex Legends comes out, and it's all over Twitch. Everybody seems to be playing it. It's a free-to-play game, so the entry barrier is super low. You basically just need to download it. You're already in the game. You're set. You can queue as an individual player, but it's based around 3 people in a team. And of course, the only way that the developer could make money from this game is through microtransactions. So there are some loot crate cosmetics and your typical standard stuff.
So they're going the Overwatch route with their microtransactions.
A little bit more than that, from my understanding, because there is level up, skill up, different types of weapons and stuff like that.
So it is somewhat pay to win.
I wouldn't say I couldn't actually say that in particular. I don't know how they balance that out in terms of being able to purchase weapons and stuff like that in Apex Legends. But so far, everybody seems to be saying that it's pretty good. The base game seems to have 8 unique classes. They're Bangalore, Bloodhound, Caustic, Gibraltar, Lifeline, Mirage, Pathfinder, and Raid.
Those are really descriptive.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know what hardly any of those classes do just from reading their names, except for the Bloodhound, because I've watched someone actually play the Bloodhound. Bloodhound basically allows you to track someone if they had recently been in the location. Your character uses their Bloodhound ability, and they basically can see footprints become a thermal image. You can immediately track where that person was going by their thermal footprints.
Interesting.
I want to say one of the characters has some sort of like temporary teleport or blink ability. I'm not sure if that's the Mirage or the Raid. But as far as I know, it's a Call of Duty style shoot 'em up 3-person team game. Some of the interesting mechanics that you could say that the developer has created through innovation is basically their audio. The characters really have this generic dialogue that just sort of automatically plays when events happen, but it doesn't seem boring. It seems something that's happening that I don't know how you would put it. It seems authentic. Basically, if your team split up all over the map, because you guys are being morons and don't realize that it's a team-based game and you need to group up together.
Right.
Your characters will call you out and they'll say like, "Hey man, what are we doing? Get together. If you're way over there," and sure enough, you bring up your map and it's like, "Yep, we're just all over the place." And normally,
So to give something extra for people to ignore.
yeah, you could say that. Normally, in a game like that, you have to press some sort of
Button
emote, or you'd pull out the map and then like ping something.
Right.
You're not really having to do that because the game's basically helping you out in a small, polite way and giving everyone just a friendly audio cue saying, "Hey, let's group up." So yeah, so far positive reviews. I myself haven't played it yet, but I'm probably going to check it out because with the price of free, it's a pretty damn low entry point, and I'm sure they'll have some sort of success. After all, if you're just purchasing things through cosmetics, if you can look at you know, other games that have strictly cosmetic transactions, such as Overwatch and stuff like that, they do seem to be doing great. And then we'll go ahead and throw Fortnite in the mix because everybody wants to play that and play Fortnite. So Fortnite's doing great as well.
Yeah, it's making a lot of money. You can see it all over the place.
Yep. Speaking of making a lot of money, people who aren't making a lot of money is EA.
Yeah.
EA's stock apparently drops the highest amount in terms of just the biggest amount of drop in the smallest amount of time, the highest drop in 20 years. I'm not going to crunch any specific numbers here because that would be fucking boring, but basically they're not doing so hot. And the executives, of course, have to cop up some reasons, some excuses, and they love to point the finger at anyone except themselves, their own video games. So first off the bat, they said that their games were underperforming. They said that there's games like Fortnite that are basically just easily taking them out. Fortnite's a free-to-play game, and their games like their games like Call of Duty Black Ops 4 just weren't cutting it. Even though Call of Duty Black Ops 4 made record numbers, made huge amount of profits, they're still claiming that it ended up wounding them in the process because it didn't make as much as they thought it would. Sounds like they have really, really high expectations.
Right, and especially with all the poking the bear they've done with the community, with Battlefront and things like that. They expect people to keep paying. I mean, a lot of people still do, but it's affected the drop in the stock.
Yeah, and the things they choose to invest in are things like the Command & Conquer franchise, which, as a Command & Conquer fan, as a RTS fan, I'm absolutely happy to say that they're invested in it because they'll churn out games. Unfortunately, the game that they decided to churn out was a fucking mobile game. And no one gives a shit about Command & Conquer on a goddamn cell phone.
Right, we've seen that with other recent games like Diablo and...
Exactly, just, harking back to the Diablo fiasco with all the memes, they ask us whether or not we own phones. We do, but the American people, unless you're grandma playing fucking Candy Crush, you just don't care about these silly point-and-click games. The Asia overseas community does, and I'm sure that's where they'll make money back on their Diablo mobile franchise game, and maybe in their Command & Conquer mobile franchise game, but it sure as hell is not in the United States. So, they really just need to focus on the things that their consumers want. And, I don't know if they just don't actually know, if there's just not like a poll, that shows like Command & Conquer on PC. I don't know what to say about Call of Duty. Call of Duty is just one of those things where it's like
the golden goose that they keep milking.
Yeah, you could make another one, but if you're not going to be innovative about it, people are just done with it. You can't just keep coming out with the next first-person battle arena where you shift a couple of years backwards or forwards, giving a slight variation on weapons, and expect people to be hyped about it. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if more people played Counter-Strike and played Call of Duty, because at least that game is stable and continuous, unlike the Call of Duty franchise, which is just all over the place.
Right.
Um, so we harp on a lot of companies with their franchises, and one of the things that comes to mind is just relationships with EA. Disney themselves has a relationship with EA. They have a exclusivity deal for the Star Wars franchise with Electronic Arts, and way before that exclusivity deal took place, back in 2002 to 2006, LucasArts was churning out video games. They were allowing other developers to utilize the IP. And during that time, they made like 14 different games. A lot of them were really good. The infamous Knights of the Old Republic, or as people call it, KOTOR, took place. Just the best Star Wars RPG that ever existed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what other ones are out there, but yeah, definitely the best.
Yeah, it came out on PC. I want to say it came out on the original Xbox as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I remember my friends playing it on console way back when, just dumping hundreds and hundreds of hours into it while we drank Mountain Dew and a terrible, terrible beat. It was a great time. It was a wonderful time.
Yeah, I never had an Xbox, so I never really got to play it.
Well, you missed out on a wonderful, wonderful time in which the RPG franchise Star Wars actually made sense.
I mean, I've come back and gotten to play it nowadays, and I really enjoyed the game.
I would love.
I haven't played KOTOR 2 yet, but maybe I'll come back and play it.
I would love for someone to make like an HD remake or update on that, but it's just never going to happen because the way EA treats the franchise, that's the last thing they're interested in. But harping back to the kinds of games that they made, LucasArts from 2002 to 2006, they also made games Battlefront,
which is another one that I played shit of.
Yeah, I want to say that was back on the, it might be PlayStation 1 era, but I definitely remember.
No, it's on PlayStation 1, the original Battlefront.
Yeah, I definitely remember Battlefront 2 being on PlayStation 2. And I definitely remember Battlefront 2 a lot more than it now.
No, I'm sorry. I'm mistaken. Battlefront 1 was on PlayStation 2, not PlayStation 1.
Okay.
But I remember having a little console thing, like a modem that I attached to the back of the PlayStation so I could play online.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You'd use the same thing if you wanted to play Final Fantasy 11.
I was gonna say, yeah, when Final Fantasy Online came out for the PlayStation 2, I remember we had bought a specific PlayStation 2. We could have a hard drive expansive slot, and I had that 1 month like free Final Fantasy Online. And I played the shit out of it, and then never played it ever again. And then we never used that expensive slot ever again because there's no game that needed that.
Yeah.
Everything else just used like a tiny little, I don't even know what they were, like 2 megabyte or 25 megabyte memory card. But yeah. Back in those nostalgic days. They also came out with like Jedi Starfighter, which is just the notorious like space fighter simulator, which you gotta duke it out with the Empire, land on enemy spaceships and take over from within inside.
So a lot of the same mechanics that Battlefront has.
Yeah, they all combine them together more or less into Battlefront 2, in my opinion. And it was a wonderful and glorious time for the PlayStation 2 era in which everybody was playing online. You could play all kinds of different stormtroopers, jetpacks, and cannons, and you could pilot all kinds of vehicles. And the hero mechanic basically didn't exist. So people weren't running around as fucking Jedis. Everybody was just Joe Schmo.
Well, that was only in the original. The hero mechanic came in.
Yeah. But yeah, nowadays though, 2013 to 2017, basically EA only managed to make 2 games. They're both attempts to remake Battlefront's franchise, in which they're reusing the same, they're using like the same ideas, the same locations, the same mechanics, the same setup. They're obviously not going back and literally using the material because it's so old, so broken, and so out of date of age. But it's not like they're coming up with anything innovative. They're literally just taking a corpse and trying to inflate it, and then say, "Hey, that's microtransactions."
Right.
If you were familiar with what happened with original Battlefront, it was basically just the amount of time that you had to put in order to unlock one of these legendary heroic characters, such as Han Solo or something. It was ridiculous. It was like I'm gonna throw a number out there, but I want to say it was like 150 like days worth of time. Like it was just some obscene ass amount, and it was like, of course, they don't expect you to play that amount of time. They just want you to pay like $60 to fucking unlock.
Yeah,
So,
I remember the controversy before it even came out.
Yeah, and that's what they've done with the franchise. That's what they've done with it since. Is during that amount of time, they've just basically created 2 failed Battlefront games that no one wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. With the last one, Battlefront 2, people will give it like positive reviews talking about how good the graphics are. And I gotta say, like, no shit, the graphics are good. The amount of money they're putting behind it, like, the least they can do is make a solid performing engine with actual standards of 60 FPS and 1080p to 4K texture. Like, you would hope with the amount of money that Disney throws at things, they would be able to just have a solid engine. But not a solid game, evidently. But Disney claims they're fine with the relationship. And that's just kind of laughable to me that it's like they're not happy with it. They're just fine.
Right.
Maybe there's a bunch of stuff that's like in the oncoming. But as far as we know, I think the last 2 or 3 games people were interested in, including something that was very close to a Knights of the Old Republic. I don't want to say sequel, but in the same vein, basically, an RPG Star Wars game centered around you and a customized character. All that stuff got canceled, and a lot of times they basically use the excuse that, hey, the movie's coming out, we need to have a game coming out, so we don't have time and resources to pump it into a longer game. We'll pump it into the shorter game and make money for it. And that's definitely not the kind of publisher or developer you want to throw.
Oh, for sure. So, I guess they need to start cutting some of the games they're doing and creating better ones.
Yep. Speaking of cutting things, Activision actually did some cutting around recently and laid off hundreds of people for some quote-unquote cost-saving measures.
Huh.
Activision recently basically has got way involved into the developers. Usually, prior they were just acting as a publisher, but now they're very, very concerned all of a sudden. And there's physical people from Activision working on site at locations like Blizzard from around the globe that are game developers. And their sole job is basically in order to save money. One of the first fiascos that I heard of was one of the important founders of Diablo basically was on a board, on a committee that represented the users or the developers at Blizzard that made video games. And his job was basically to help those developers get insurance, get rights, get benefits, and his primary thing that he fought tooth and nail for was a clause that allowed them to get a percentage of profits. And when Activision came in and had a person crunch the numbers, the first thing they saw was, this is an easy thing to get rid of. We'll just tell the board in order to, vote on it and get rid of it. And of course, he said no. He's like, this is my hill to die on. We, as the developers, deserve a percentage of profits. and I'm not going to allow you to get rid of it. And because I'm the head of the board, you can't fucking pass this vote as long as I'm the head of it. So they basically paid everybody off, and I guess you could say that's hearsay, but they bribed everybody to basically get that guy voted off the board, so that way they could pass the clause and then get rid of the profit clause, and then that saved them 3 to 5% of whatever the profits were for all of the development of those video games that were originally going back to the developers. And it's a tiny, minuscule amount, but in the long run, that was a huge, just instant win for Activision in terms of them just getting more percentage of their profits back to their executives.
That's insane.
And that guy left immediately after that. And he's, as far as I know, he immediately started working on contract to hire for PoE, Path of Exile. And they were absolutely delighted to have the mastermind behind the Diablo franchise in terms of lore to help them out and set everything up. And I'm sure that guy's in a much happier place, although it's unfortunate that he had to leave his home of Blizzard for so long, and it's terrible that the kind of in-house politics forced him out that way.
Right.
But that's just the first tip of the iceberg for what Activision's trying to do in order to, quote-unquote, have cost-saving measures, is getting rid of benefits for the developers and getting rid of people that they feel like don't really matter in the long run. A lot of the people that they're going to lay off are going to be in relation to customer services for people who have purchased their games, and things like customer support, being like, I'm trying to refund the game, or I'm having some sort of software issue, or bugs, builds, quality assurance. All of those things fall under QA that they're going to deem are no longer needed. And I've seen time and time again, personally, from within an actual game testing facility at Bethesda, what it means when people start cutting corners and do quote-unquote cost-saving measures, so that way you care less about the quality control of your product and more just about preemptive positive reviews. And you can kind of look at Bethesda with the Fallout 76, and it didn't start there. It started way long ago. It started from so far long ago before it got to that. But it eventually led up to the point in which they had no quality control, and they just didn't care about their beta testing, and so they came out with a failed product like Fallout 76. And it's just a classic thing where the developers put forth effort, but someone at the top is just trying to make a quick buck, and that person is going to make a quick buck because they have the power. So Activision is going to lay off hundreds of personnel. Meanwhile, executives are going to be kept, and they're going to keep reaping millions in bonuses.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So they're firing people so they make themselves more money.
Yeah, and in the long run, it's going to basically make the company look like they've grown over time. It's going to make it look like that they've had growth because all of a sudden they got rid of this quote-unquote excess fat, and now it's going to look like they're making a greater percentage of profit because they have less invested in these types of resources. It's honestly just like a classic bookie gimmick that they're trying to make their company look like prospered and grown, when in fact it hasn't.
Right, they've cut people and they've taken profits from developers. That's insane.
Yep. I really hope that developers like Blizzard survive and prosper, but it's looking pretty grim when you have a publisher like that come in, place someone in-house, physically on location, and start just chopping away at you. You can see where stuff like that, decisions like that, turn games rotten from the core inside. And that might be true of the recent Kingdom Hearts 3 franchise. The new entry into Kingdom Hearts, being Kingdom Hearts 3, pretty much has landed to mediocre reviews. I talked briefly last time about how I watched an absolute terrible launch in which a person was trying to sign in and play Kingdom Hearts 3 on their Xbox, and they had a disconnect issue. Then he found out that it was like a worldwide issue with patching, and he just sat there for an hour and wasn't able to do anything. Apparently, after that, once you start playing the game, people are kind of met with a cold shoulder. Everything seems to be quickly done. A lot of the stuff is just ripped from the original content, and by that I mean Frozen, for example. It's just them playing all the songs. I've actually never watched Frozen, but I can see how that's just absolutely dreadful. That you're not trying to watch that movie, and you definitely don't care about that franchise, and yet they're gonna make you live through all of it.
Yeah, that does not sound like a fun time.
I've heard that about 40 to 50% of the original voice actors are there, which is kind of disappointing. You hope with a Disney franchise that they would really be able to bring on more original voices. I hear that they used the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and it's absolutely laughable because they couldn't get they couldn't get half of the other characters that matter. So it's just people doing absolutely terrible voices of those characters, maybe even in a mocking parody-like manner. But a lot of people have just come out with mediocre reviews for it, saying that they don't feel like the developers really had their heart into it, and the game is way too easy. You know, you can point at it and say this is a child's game, but holy shit, that's a lot to say if you're expecting a child to have played through all of the previous Kingdom Hearts games and like have all of these devices. Like, there's no way a child owns all of this. Like, you have to be an adult at this point to be wanting this. Maybe, of course, you do give this to like a kid, but he's not going to understand the storyline. There's no way. Like, they are adults that used to play Kingdom Hearts when it came out. So they have to understand that their franchise has evolved where those kids are now adults and they need to treat those people as adults. And instead, they still treat them like they're 7-year-olds. And from what I've heard and from what I've seen, I like god awful. Go through the same tropes about characters not quote unquote remembering because they have fucking amnesia, and Goofy trying to just go on and explain, don't you remember why you don't remember? Well, this is why you don't remember. I'm not going to tell you the thing you're supposed to remember because you need to have played the other games.
That's insane.
But most importantly, the game is just too easy. They added something called attractions, and it kind of just looks like Disney trying to sell their theme park attractions. Like, and I don't know if these are actual attractions like at Disney World or something, but they, like, you'll summon the pirate ship. It's like a themed attraction, and it just rocks back and forth, and it just destroys everybody. There are other ones that are a little bit more in taste. Like, there's the Wreck-It Ralph one in which he like builds a tower, and once he constructs the tower and lights hit something, it sort of stuns and freezes them, and then they can think he can do some combo and destroy the tower and everything. But like the theme park attraction thing is just straight up like Disney like being like, hey, throw this into the game.
Wow.
And it makes me wonder also if there's like a Wreck-It Ralph like construction tower like right.
Not that I'm aware of. But yeah, there may be something, but I can't really.
I was gonna say the game's not terrible, but it's not great and it's too easy. I watch people play it on quote unquote crowd mode, the 100% it, and it's just too. There's a lot of content there. People do appreciate the content, but I mean, even with crowd mode, you gotta wonder why they don't increase the level cap of difficulty. It almost feels like they added attractions afterwards, because man, once you use an attraction, well, everything's this is an attraction. Even on crowd mode, just It's like really feel like game.
Like Final Fantasy Summit.
Yeah, like the games community, the diehard community, would be so much happier just with a difficulty patch. I doubt it'll ever happen, but if they did that, they probably would get a lot more smiles about their game, a lot less cold shoulders, a lot less mediocre reviews. Looking at you, Doug.
Alright, so anyway, before we continue on, can we take a break?
Yep.
Oh, shit. Are we recording?
It's recording.
Oh, okay. Alright, so we're back. Today we have another auction.
What do you got for us today? eBay listings.
Yep, I've got for us a Magnavox Odyssey. So
Magnavox Odyssey.
it's one of the first. Well, it is the first commercial home video game console. At the time, it cost $99, which was $593, almost $600 at the time. You know, equivalent to our money today.
I'm gonna guess that's a steal. $99 for a freaking video game console.
Maybe, but I mean, it was actually $600 equivalent.
Right.
John. It came out in 1972. Yeah, 1972.
Yeah.
And it actually came out a couple months before Palm. So what we're looking at here on eBay is a promotional version. And it is a version that was released in 1971. There's the thing put together. That's not the one we're actually looking at. What we're looking at here is a prototype.
Like the other one. The other one was a bit more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was put together. So it's directly from the eBay listing. This is the rarest video game system. It is literally the rarest video game system ever commercially produced. It is the original Odyssey video game system. It is the original Odyssey video game system, which was the first commercially released video game system in the USA. It was the precursor to the Atari 2600. So their listing here likes to repeat itself, just really hammer itself in.
I want you to know that it's literally the rarest video game system because it is the first video game system. Because it is the original Odyssey video game system.
And I'm gonna read directly from the listing here. So I'm gonna take their tone. This unit is brand new, never played, never demoed. Salesman sampled travel kit. This was a demo brought to Sears that showed the retail version of the product for sales support. It is a fully functional system. It has all of the original documentation intact. We know it was as such. We sold all the original accompanying sales kits that went with it over the past 20 years. Roughly 6 kits. This is literally the number one of the video game systems.
It is really exciting.
Yeah, he wants to really sell this with the yelling. Hopefully my rendition does him justice.
I can imagine a guy at the end of the keyboard fucking type like that. It's just, he really, really wants to fucking himself.
But this is the case that the kit comes in, and you can see here on the top there are what looks like rolls of film. You would actually put these on your television, and then it would display them like lights on them, and that's how you would actually play the games. So
That's
you would
fucking weird.
Yeah. So that is definitely.
Explain that one more time.
You would put these displays over your television.
So I put a display over my television.
So it would add like a little map or something to your television.
It's a colored display that has images already on.
And then the game would just be lights on your television that would somehow interact with those displays to make it seem like you're running around on those graphics.
Oh, so like you would put like a maze image up there, then you would have a little character running in the maze.
Yep.
and genius, and wow, that is like caveman style boring.
Yeah. Here's a better image of the case.
Oh, look at that sexy case.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of plastic that is, but I see that all the time with the older stuff, where it's just like, what is this, like drywall fucking material?
I mean, it looks like Rubbermaid, like those Rubbermaid tables that we have that we used to play Dungeons and Dragons on, like from my old apartment. Remember, like the white plastic ones? It kind of reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
So here it is open. You can see the documentation. Here it's displaying everything that's in the case. Let's see if we can.
That's original.
Let's see if we can zoom in here.
Yes, enhance. More pixels. That's how enhancing works, right? When you enhance, things get bigger, then it increases in resolution. That's not how that works. Thanks, guy.
Your Odyssey Master Control Unit has been calibrated at our factory to the highest standards that will give you years of carefree operation. Since all brands of television receivers do vary in their performance characteristics, you may find it necessary to adjust the horizontal hold control of your television in order to stabilize your Odyssey picture. A frontal frequency control is provided on your Odyssey on the bottom of the Master Control Unit to allow you to adjust your Odyssey to be more comparable with your television receiver. Insert a thin blade screwdriver in the hole marked Hertz Freak and turn the control unit. Your Odyssey picture is stabilized. You will now be able to change between regular television viewing and Odyssey without making adjustments to your television receiver. Wonderful! So there's some fun instructions there. Thank you for purchasing Odyssey. We hope it will bring you and your family many hours of pleasure.
That sounds fantastic. I would never buy it. How much? Is that the question? Is that always the question?
Yes.
The question is how much the eBay listing is for.
However, I do want to point out one more thing.
What is all that? That's all the cards?
Cards and money and chips. So basically for your gambling game, you would actually still have to play with regular cards and you would just have interactions on the screen. So you would still have to calculate your chips. The game wouldn't do that for you.
So confused. What does it do in a card game in which it doesn't deal cards or count money?
I don't know.
Does it keep track of the turn?
I guess that's what I assume. And maybe it, rolls dice and things like that.
Why would you need dice in a card game?
I don't know.
That's so confusing.
Unfortunately, I never got to play one, but there was a Pong-like game on it. And there was battery ports for it. Here's some of the games. More of the games. So how much do you think this baby is?
He's great. I'm gonna say $6,000.
$9,995.95.
That's so close, but also like unbelievably unreasonable.
Yep.
All the PlayStation 4s in the world you can buy. Fucking 10 grand.
Yep. You could definitely buy a really nice computer for that amount.
Well, no possible. Alright, welcome back. Calabash is now with us, and we're going to go right back to eBay listing. Right.
So we have a rare, original, working 4-player Pong cocktail table arcade game. The game belonged to this guy's uncle, who purchased it in the early 70s. The model is very rare as it is a home version and doesn't require coin to play. It is in great vintage condition. The only issue is only half of the score lights up and some scratches and initials on the outside glass. I'm sure the score issue is an easy fix, but I don't want to attempt it. I cannot find a manufacturer's mark anywhere on the inside boards or on the cabinet. This is an excellent addition to anyone's collection. It measures 24 tall by 28 wide. Sorry we aren't able to pack and ship this item, but we would be willing to work with your shipper. We prefer local pickup in Vernon, California 90058.
Why am I not surprised that this is in California?
That shit drives me bonkers though when people are not going to get shipping with it.
Yeah.
Like, what is with that?
So here's
I mean, I kind of understand.
I don't.
Well, for this item, shipping that?
UPS will totally ship that and they'll insure it. So
Oh, okay. I was
Like,
aware of that.
it's just-
Oh, there's a lot of damage on.
this is perfect condition at all.
Yeah, seriously.
Minus 10 DKP.
So
Oh, that fucking acronym just hurt me. Oh my god, you just like triggered me.
Bringing it back.
Fucking
Bringing it back.
PTSD.
so unlike my usual amazing caliber items,
Skylar's unfazed. I'm sorry, please continue. Right.
unlike my usual flawless amazing items, this one's a little different. So,
Go
what do you
back.
think the price
Go back
is?
to. Oh, look at that damage on the wood portion.
Yeah. There's probably some particle board.
Yeah.
But I mean,
extremely rare.
we were talking about the previous one, what pertained, or another item we were looking at that was the quote unquote original first video game console. It's $10,000.
Yeah.
So this is Pong though. Like,
Very iconic.
is it worth more money
Oh, fuck no.
because it's more iconic, or is it worth less because they've had more versions of it?
I feel like it'll be worth less than 10,000 because there's no manufacturer mark.
That is weird too.
There's lots of damage on this.
It definitely looks like something that probably got redone at some point, and he just has no proof because it was done in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, Granddad did a restoration. This one ugly color.
Yeah.
Also, those scores are.
It'd
There's
go beautiful with some shack.
yeah, only half the lights. Like there's it's still gonna be worth a lot. Well, way more than I would fucking pay for it.
Ain't nobody gonna repair that.
Oh no.
Wonder how hard it is to convert stuff like that to a modern day screen. But
It has wheels on it.
Yeah, it's portable. That's why
pretty
there's no
awesome.
delivery. It has wheels.
you know,
It'll roll itself way back.
I've seen stuff similar to this with I don't know if it's called Donkey Kong, but yeah, like the I guess
Oh yeah,
original.
Donkey Kong is the original with Mario.
yeah,
Jumpman.
yeah, where it's you jumping up the ladder.
Oh yeah. Jumping over
Yeah.
the barrels and whatnot.
Yeah, but I've seen similar stuff like that. I mean, I assume it's a couple grand. Like, I don't know. I'll say $4,000.
Oh, I was thinking like 2,500.
2,500 and $4,000.
Oh,
400.
Wow.
We're fools. We should not. Well, we're not historians. We're not good at this at all.
Nah. But it makes sense it's only 500 because like there's a lot of stuff that's questionable about this.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys this.
That's interesting.
While I was looking at this, there are other ones that are in better condition that sell for $4,000, $1,295.
You're pretty on
Okay.
money, dude.
So, but there just weren't a lot of pictures. Oh, here, this one actually has a lot of pictures, but it's
Oh.
Yeah.
it
It
was
looks like it was.
It's going to play.
Yeah.
a little
I was
high.
gonna say it looks like it was in an arcade.
Yeah.
And then there was this one that only had this one image.
Oh.
That one definitely. Oh, that's crazy.
I'm surprised with how cheap it is either way. Like, this is something that I could see myself buying. I'm just like, I have surplus money and I'm a hipster. I want to play some of that Pong. And they're like, are you crazy? And I'm like, no, I literally have a Pong.
Dude, we would have like this. This is like if you won the lottery and then invested really well.
$500 ain't bad. I mean,
Well,
it's
that's
crazy. It's crazy to think about because now you can play like an emulator and it wouldn't cost you any money.
Well, yeah.
But for like, go the original Pong, the 4-player Pong table.
I want to point out this $4,000 one has $500 for shipping.
Well, they're going to fucking insure the shit out of it.
And they're gonna package the tits out of that.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones
It's-
are both free local
or best.
pickup.
Yeah.
We're not going to charge you to
Ain't
take away
nobody
from our
gonna
lawn.
fucking pick that shit up local, man. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I try to buy laptops in bulk all the time, and I see that all the time where it's like we're only willing to deal with local pickup. And I'm like, yeah, because you posted on the internet So someone can drive to bumfuck middle of nowhere and pick it up directly from you because you refuse to deal with the post office. Like, no wonder no one's been on this. Like, some people. Lots of reasons. Repair would be a good one. Just literally, they'll have stuff that's like, hey, this stuff doesn't work. They're good for repair parts. You can get them super cheap. And I'm talking about like, here's like 10 gutted laptops that are like $20 a piece.
Oh wow!
And it's just like, okay, well, like you put together some, put some RAM in it. Like,
Should we
boom,
be
there you
singing?
go.
I don't know, never mind.
Yeah, I was like, okay. All right.
But
Is that it?
That's it.